Well, hello, and welcome to something very new and different for the Honest Football podcast this season. Because as much as throughout our time in existence, we have been a podcast focused on the EFL and National League and non-league, we've got a special occasion this year. Our club, the club I'm a season ticket holder at, Luton Town, are in the Premier League against all the odds. And through the summer, there's been plenty of talk about us and what we're going to bring to the Premier League, or not bring, according to many people. So we're going to start putting that right by doing a preview to every Luton game at the start of this season. I'm off to Brighton on Saturday, so I'm looking forward to it immensely. And we are going to talk about the game. We're going to focus on Luton, of course, because I am a Luton Town fan. And for a bit of fun at the end, we're also going to do quickfire Premier League predictions. Now, for those of you that have been here for a while, you'll know that we're fairly balanced here. We don't get all excited. We're not clickbait. We're none of that stuff. So if you want all of that, you probably want to go to another channel. We're just going to have a bit of a relaxed chat, a build up to the game, talk about how we're feeling about Luton's chances, and then of course we'll have a bit of fun at the end too. You can feel free to join in with your predictions and your thoughts down in the comments as well. That'll be in addition to our regular championship predictions, which have already started in the eye above, as well as all of our season predictions for the other leagues and loads of matchday clips as well. But we are here today to look ahead to the first game of the new Premier League season, Luton Town's Premier League debut, away at Brighton and Hove Albion. We're proudly partnered by HelloFresh, so if you want some new meals in your kitchen, check out the link at the top of the description. But for Luton, it's all about a new football season. And it's been an interesting summer so far. We'll cover Brighton in a bit. Of course, I'm sure you can accept most of the focus is going to be on Luton, because there's been a lot of talk about the transfer work that we've done this summer. And of course, there have been a number of players signing new contracts and a number joining the club as well. I think what's crucial out of the action so far is there's only one player coming in who's got recognised Premier League experience, which is a player we had on loan last year anyway. And we've got to start with that man, because as well as featuring on the thumbnail today, he is arguably the most important signing at the club this summer. And I'm of course talking about Marvellous Nakamba, a man that myself and most other Luton fans will have fallen in love with, both as a player and of course for his reputation and his charitable efforts off the pitch as well. And it was clear to see from the fact that when he joined permanently, there were Villa fans, there were Club Brugge fans, there were fans from so many of the clubs he played for who were just wishing him good luck. He is a player who is clearly a popular character, and the difference he made on the pitch to Luton last year was pretty immense, to be honest. He was one of those January signings after Rob Edwards came in November, and what he did was allow us to be more aggressive as a team, because under Nathan Jones at the start of the season, we'd been defensively solid, which we always were, and we carried a threat away from home. But we were just getting tied down in certain games because we weren't able to commit enough numbers forward. With Marvellous Nakamba, a truly disciplined holding midfielder who isn't about glory, doesn't really take a shot, apart from a good penalty into the side netting in the final, we had someone who would protect the back three, and that in turn allowed two wing-backs and two other centre midfielders to essentially play 5 yards higher up the pitch, particularly during home matches. That oversaw a massive turn in our home form, and of course ending up being a big push to third place in the playoffs. And in the end, it all ended with the fairy tale at Wembley. 9 years after our time in non-league, we are a Premier League side. But of course, in addition to the crucial returning face, there had to be new additions as well. We had two regular loan players who had left the club, a few others who were out of contract, including the club captain, a centre-half. So there needed to be leaders coming in, and there needed to be first-team quality. But Luton have done it the Luton way. They've not spent big money. Yes, they've broken a transfer record at least 3 times this summer, but no one's come in for more than 5 million quid. It's very much a big championship window in the Premier League for Luton Town. And a lot of people have taken the mick out of it, and we've all heard the, you're going for Derby's record. Trust me, we'll beat that pretty quickly. But the good thing for Luton this summer is they have bought players Nakamba aside who are not going to lose any value. They are players that, if the worst happens, will be very competitive at the top end of the championship next year and will command at least the same fee from other clubs if they want to sign them. But more importantly, they are players who are capable of making that step up and give us a fighting chance in the Premier League. The good thing as well is a number of them are in their early to mid-20s, so we have got future potential in there as well, and a few names who potentially are on the cusp of a Premier League opportunity. We'll start with some of the more recent ones, because I'm baffled to start with that Wolves have let Ryan Giles go. He was at Middlesbrough last year, top assist maker, joint in the Championship, and of course from that left wing back position will be a big threat for Luton Town. He's a player who's played under Rob Edwards in the National League North and has played with him in the Wolves youth setup. So he's someone who knows the manager, knows the style, and of course has been able to adapt to higher levels as he goes along. The Premier League is another big step up, but hopefully he'll be the man to make it. We've got Tadif Chong as well coming in, a man who was much talked about in the United setup for years, comes in from Birmingham, and I think I speak for all Luton fans when I say we all remember that display a couple of years ago. Birmingham won 5-0 at Kenilworth Road. They played us off the park, but most notably, Tadif Chong played us off the park. And if he can add that to our midfield at least 10 or 15 times this season, we've got one hell of a signing. We move on to Mads Andersen, who comes in from Barnsley, captain in a side that reached the League One playoff final last year, was one of their shining lights in Championship relegation as well. He is a leader, he's shown everything in pre-season already, and with Sonny Bradley leaving the club, having someone who's a bit younger, a bit more mobile, and possibly a bit more capable on the ball can only be a good thing going forward. But replacing those leadership skills at the back, definitely something that's crucial. The latest signing, Thomas Kaminski, what a signing he is in goal. One of the best stoppers in the Championship for some time. I know there were a few Luton fans who were a little bit divided about this, but when you look at the other options that were about, Alex Palmer, a couple of the old boys, Begovic and Heaton, were talked about. I really feel Luton have got the best of the lot, if I'm being honest. There's a lot of talk about John Ruddy joining as a deputy alongside Shea, but for me, Kaminski, I'm thrilled with as a signing. I feel he's a keeper who might be able to make that step up. The other ones, of course, are Issa Kabore on loan from Manchester City, who had a brief taste of Champions League football with Marseille last year. He's someone who has already looked exciting in replacing Cody Drame, who we had on loan last year. Interesting to note he was left out of the lead squad on Sunday, but Kabore, definitely a ready-made replacement. And based on the fact we've only really got 3 at the moment, I think we'll probably see another wing-back come in anyway. Then the final one, Ogbene, could he be the other solution at wing-back? Came in from Rotherham where he was incredibly impressive last year. An Irish international, seems to be a great character, and it's the thing that's always been most underrated by neutrals when it comes to Luton Town, is the type of character that's brought in. And you look at some of the interviews when the players join and you can just tell they're going to fit. And it's something that, it sounds silly, but has carried Luton a long way. And every time we've stepped up a division, there's been that set of fans that say, yeah, but this is this level, it's going to be a lot trickier now. Oh yeah, but this is a bigger step up, you're not going to be able to cut it. And every time the club has cut it. Whether or not we stay up in the Premier League this year, I don't know. But it's going to be one hell of a ride. So we're looking forward to this game against Brighton. It's going to be a magnificent occasion. Let's have a look at Brighton though, because it's been a big summer for them as well. As always, 2 or 3 move on to the club, but this time they've got the lure of Europa League group stage football. World Cup winner Alexi McAllister moved on. Backup keeper Robert Sanchez, they got loads of money out of Chelsea for again. And of course, there's still a huge saga surrounding Moises Caicedo, but it looks like he's here to stay. Whether or not he does though, they've replaced well again. James Milner will add brilliant experience in the middle. Mahmoud Dahoud, one of the best underrated signings on a free this summer from Dortmund. He could be a gem if they can keep him fit. And then other solid additions across Europe, as well as the wild card, and a man that Luton fans will love to boo on Saturday, João Pedro. Last seen having a strop on the Kenilworth Road pitch when, well, Watford were unravelling towards the end of last season. But in all seriousness, he is a cracking talent at his best, and him and Roberto De Zerbi has seemed to be a match made in heaven on multiple occasions. So he is a man we've got to watch out for this weekend, and with the injuries in our backline, we have lost some of the mobility that we would usually expect to have. So that is probably my biggest worry going into the season. But we know what De Zerbi's side are. They're aggressive, they're front-footed, they play in a tactical style that probably doesn't suit Luton ideally. We saw against Sunderland the troubles we had with that on the road in the playoff semi-final. So we're going to have to be at our best defensively if we want to stop them now. Would have been ideal to get sides like this, ideally, on a Sunday after a European game. But it's not to be. And to be honest, it's August on Brighton Beach. I'm not complaining. So let's move on to my prediction for this game. You guys can let me know down in the comments. As Brighton fans, you can probably tell if I've been fair or not. But I'm not a headline grabber. I'm not clickbait. I don't expect Luton to win this game. I think Brighton will win the opening day of the season. And away to a side that finished in the top 6 last year, it's probably not going to define whether we stay up. There are remarkable similarities between the way that Brighton and Luton have run over recent years. Of course, the main difference is our stadium isn't ready for the Premier League, our new one that is, whereas Brighton had already moved in before they came up. That aside though, I think we're in pretty good nick. We seem to be a club going very much in the same direction, and Brighton probably one of those models that we've got to keep following as we go along. But for now, it is definitely a bridge too far for me. I think Luton will give it a go, and I still think will be a goal threat on the counter. Playing two big target men up front is something you're not often seeing in the Premier League. And we saw, even when Brentford went two up front when they came up, the difference that made. So I think Luton are going to be direct. They are going to create chances, but it's not going to be enough on this occasion. I'm going to go for a Brighton win, and I'm going to go comfortable by 3-1. I just hope it's not a mauling, and I don't think it will be. I can see Brighton winning pretty comfortably. That's my opinion on the game. Let me know if you agree or disagree. But while you do that, we're going to have a quick look at some quickfire Premier League predictions, which, as I mentioned at the start, it's only for a bit of a laugh. I'm not expecting to be right. We will play along, and obviously I'll give a shout out to anyone who does really well each week. So let me know yours in the comments, but this is what I've gone for. I've gone for Burnley 1, Manchester City 3 on the opening night. I will be streaming that game whilst playing FM on my Load FM channel. You can find that in the eye above. Arsenal versus Forest, I've gone for a 2-0 home win. Forest were wretched on the road last season. Bournemouth West Ham, I've gone for West Ham to nick an away win. Signings are a bit late, but a lot of change at Bournemouth. Just think it will take a while to settle in. Brighton 3, Luton 1 we've mentioned already. Everton to nick a 1-0 at home to Fulham. Another club with a bit of uncertainty. What's happening with Mitrovic? Willian signs a new deal. He's going off to Saudi. Still talk about Marco Silva too. Sheffield United Palace, I've gone for 1-1. The same as I've gone for Newcastle and Villa. Probably safe picks for the opening day. And Tottenham to nick a win in Ange's first game at Brentford. Harry Kane, I'm sure, will score in that one. Looked great in pre-season last weekend. Chelsea 2, Liverpool 2, I think is going to be the thriller. Liverpool haven't improved much defensively. Chelsea have got injuries back there. But they have looked better under Poch in pre-season. And on Monday night, I've gone for United to beat what is a pretty hapless Wolves at the moment by 3-0. I'll be honest, as a Luton fan, the way their window's going at the moment, they're one of the clubs I'm looking at. But whether or not we'll have enough, we'll wait and see as the months go on. It's going to be an interesting end to the transfer window. I'd argue the Saudi transfer market has maybe given a Luton a chance because some of the traditional mid-table clubs are perhaps losing players they wouldn't normally expect to. Whether or not that's enough to help Luton out, I'm not too sure yet. I guess we'll be optimistic on that front. But if you did enjoy this first ever Luton Town Premier League preview, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. If you want to stay up to date with everything on the channel, subscribe and turn that notification bell on. There'll be clips from all the games. I'm at League Cup ties this midweek. And then, of course, Luton's opener at the weekend. There's also Championship predictions later in the week, League One predictions via YouTube Shorts and TikTok, and so much more. If you've missed all of our pre-season predictions for the Championship down to the National League, they're all up in that playlist in the eye above. But I'll see you back here next time. I haven't decided if I'm going to do a brief quickfire score prediction for next week, but if not, we'll be back to look ahead to Chelsea Luton, which is in a couple of weeks' time. I'll see you there.